You're lying on a bed of packed grass at the mouth of a cave, 200,000 years ago. Coals glow orange beside you, throwing long shadows across the stone. The wind shifts, and somewhere past the tree line, something is moving on 4 feet, low and patient, testing the air for the smell of you. You have no lock, no wall, and 8 hours of total unconsciousness ahead of you. Right now, a locked door does that job for you. Ancient humans had no door. So how did early humans survive sleep itself, night after night, for hundreds of thousands of years? Without walls. You dim a screen, roll over, and unconsciousness swallows you in minutes. No watch kept, nothing testing the wind outside your window. They had none of that. Just skin, ash, and the dark, and roughly a third of every single day spent completely blind to whatever was out there. Start with the obvious answer: fire. In 2012, archaeologist Francesco Berna of Boston University analyzed ash and burned bone buried deep inside Wonderwork Cave in South Africa's Northern Cape. The layer dated back roughly 1 million years. At the time, the earliest confirmed evidence that human ancestors could keep a flame burning on purpose, not one they'd simply wandered into after a wildfire passed. A controlled fire does something no claw or tooth can match on its own. It turns total darkness into a lit perimeter that anything hunting you has to cross first, in the open, exposed. Its eyes suddenly visible before it's close enough to matter. Everyone assumes that 2012 number was the final word. It wasn't. In 2026, the same Wonderwork Cave research team, led by Leora Kolska-Horwitz, pushed the timeline back even further. They found burned bone as old as 79 million years, deep enough inside the cave that no wildfire could explain it. Fire wasn't a late invention humans stumbled into. It was there almost from the beginning of what made us us. So fire solved the problem, right? Not quite. In 1970, paleontologist C.K. Brain examined a child's skull recovered from Swartkrans Cave, also in South Africa, a hominin dated to roughly 8 million years old. 2 puncture wounds sat near the back of the skull, spaced exactly 33 millimeters apart. Brain matched that spacing to the lower canine teeth of a leopard. The leopard hadn't just killed this child. It had likely dragged the body up into a tree to feed alone, away from scavengers. The same behavior leopards show today. Dozens of leopard fossils have turned up in the same layers at Swartkrans, which tells you this wasn't a one-off tragedy. It was routine. Fire could light a clearing. It couldn't stop something with claws and patience from finding you in the hours the flames burned low, and it definitely couldn't reach 50 feet up a tree. And it wasn't just the danger they'd misjudged. Everyone assumes early humans crashed the moment the sun went down and slept straight through until dawn, exhausted from a day of survival. In 2015, UCLA sleep scientist Jerome Siegel led a study tracking 3 modern hunter-gatherer groups: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia, using wrist devices across more than 1,000 combined nights. On average, people stayed awake roughly 3 hours after sunset before sleep took them, and got only 7 to 1 hours total. Not more than a lot of people in cities get today, sometimes less. Most of them woke up not at dawn, but at the coldest point of the night, hours before the sun actually rose. So people weren't just lying on bare ground either in 2020. Archaeologist Lynn Wadley of the University of the Witwatersrand studied bedding preserved at Border Cave, near the border of South Africa and Eswatini. Her team found layers of grass sleeping mats dating back roughly 200,000 years, laid over beds of ash. Mixed into that ash were burned fragments of camphor bush, a plant still used today in parts of East Africa to repel biting insects. That's not a coincidence. That's pest control. People were choosing their sleeping surface on purpose, cleaning it, occasionally burning the old bedding, and rebuilding fresh mats over insect-repelling ash. Comfort mattered. So did staying healthy enough to hunt the next day, because an infected insect bite in a world with no antibiotics could kill you just as effectively as any predator. But none of that explains the actual gap. Who was watching while everyone else was unconscious? In 2017, anthropologist David Sampson, then at Duke University, fitted 33 Hadza adults in Tanzania with activity tracking devices and monitored them for 20 nights. He expected quiet stretches when the whole camp slept together. He didn't find them. Out of more than 220 hours of nighttime observation, there were only 18 total minutes when every single adult was asleep at the same time. At any given point in the night, a median of 8 people were awake. Everyone assumes a group like this must have assigned someone to keep watch, a rotating duty planned out loud around the fire. Nobody had to. Older adults naturally woke earlier and slept less. Younger adults naturally stayed up later. That spread in body clocks across an age range meant someone was awake almost the entire night, without a single person ever being told to stay up and watch the dark. So which one of these was the real defense? Not the fire alone. It burned low, and predators learn to work around light. Not the bedding alone. Insulation and hygiene don't stop teeth, not even the watching alone. One tired sentinel eventually fails, no matter how disciplined they are. The real protection was the overlap. Fire gave the group a lit space to sleep in. Ash and camphor kept that space clean enough to actually rest in. And underneath both of those sat an unplanned, unspoken rotation of open eyes, grandparents, teenagers, new parents, each on a slightly different clock, meaning the group itself never fully went dark. Even on the nights nobody remembered to build the fire back up. The technology mattered. But the real weapon, the one nothing else in this story works without, was simply never sleeping alone. Go back to that cave mouth 200,000 years ago. The coals are still glowing. Something is still moving past the tree line, testing the wind for the smell of you. But you were never actually facing it by yourself. An elder was awake somewhere near you. A teenager was still restless by the fire. Someone's eyes were already open before the threat even arrived. Hours before you'd have noticed anything at all. Modern life gave you a locked door, and it taught you to sleep completely alone, in silence, behind walls thick enough that you never have to think about who's awake near you. You call that safety. Your ancestors, watching each other breathe through a night they never fully surrendered to, would have called it strange. They didn't survive the night because they were strong enough to fight what was out there. They survived because they were never, for one single minute, actually facing it alone.